know it is. All right. It is 9 o'clock on Tuesday, August 1st. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Looks like we have a pretty good agenda again today. We'll start off with approving the minutes from the July 25th board meeting. Is there any corrections? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Under the public hearing for the drainage CD 31 project, it would be in my motion before we voted. It says 7 of 10 on the printed version, but after the words phase 2 repairs, I would like added what I had said, work from Fillmore Avenue to County Road 8 Southwest on CD 31. That just better describes the scope of the work rather than just referring it to by a phase.
Sure. Yep. If you want the actual detail of what phase 2 description is, no problem. That is great. And as a motion then with that correction?
I'll make that motion with that correction to approve the meeting minutes.
All right.
Second that.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland for the approval of the minutes with the correction under the public hearing on CD 31 and with the description of what phase 2 is. All right. Is there any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved unanimously. Item B for minutes, I'm going to move the July 26th meeting minutes down to items for consideration, and we'll approve them with the recommendations from that committee of the whole. So with that, we'll move on to the review and approval of the agenda today. Is there anything that needs to be added to today's agenda or removed?
I have nothing to add, sir.
Chair, I want to take out and have a discussion on the Hennepin County U.S. Bank Stadium contract.
Okay, so we'll parcel that out of the approval of the recommendations, that would be part of the committee of the whole recommendation. So we'll parcel that discussion and the recommendations separate with that item. Okay. So with that, I will look for a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved unanimously. Today's consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
Second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda approved unanimously. Now moving on to the 9:02 timed agenda item would be the Health and Human Services Board. The first item on the Health and Human Services Board was the approval of the statewide health improvement partnership planning retreat at Bertram, which is part of the consent agenda, and the approval of the Public Health Task Force member appointments, which is also part of the Health and Human Services consent agenda. I'll entertain motion for the consent agenda, or unless anyone would like to discuss either of them in more detail.
I do have a change in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. Under the number 1-2, approve Public Health Task Force member appointment. Under the original agenda, I had, I believe it was Josh Burrell. Actually, Josh Burrell is stepping off the task force, and instead what we're asking is that an individual from District 4 named Jacqueline Burgo be appointed to that task force. So that was an error in the original agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda then for, with those changes.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Holland for the approval of the consent agenda with the noted change in the Public Health Task Force appointment.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And thanks for making the correction after I asked for more information on that District 5 applicant, which turns out is stepping off. So the District 4 applicant that you're recommending, it's not my district, but it's the first I've heard of the name. Was there any application information shared with the commissioner in that area or anybody else on the board?
At this time, what we're sharing is just the name and the district number. We're in consultation with the county attorney's office as far as not really what can be shared, but what would be best practice to share during the board meetings. Commissioners, a lot of times when people are applying for our public health task force, our mental health task force, they share things on their application about their own mental health status potentially, or their children's, or some of, I would say, more personal reasons for wanting to be on the task force. So we were, after discussing with administration and prior to discussing with the county attorneys, I think at this point, until we hear from the county attorney about what's the best practice, we can certainly share that information with the commissioner from that district prior to or at the request of, when you see a name, if you're not familiar with that person. Does that make sense? Again, we're just looking for a best practice. I think we'll come back with a more standard type of process going forward. It was just brought to my attention that some information that we had been sharing during the application process could tend to be fairly intimate and personal for that individual.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Did the county commissioner for that district know there was an application and know that
Well,
there
since we
was-
had the wrong name on the agenda in the first place, I'm thinking not. So this is District 4.
Okay, because that had happened before, where it was the wrong district with
Right.
the name, and just that communication with the commissioners in that district would be important as
Right.
well.
We agree, and that's our standard process, is to give the information, so in this instance, yeah, that name was not on the agenda, so that individual would not know this person, but had applied for it until this point, so. And I was off on Friday and Monday, so it just came to my attention today. So the other option would be to pull that name until the next meeting, the September meeting, and just remove Josh Burrell from today's agenda, on today's consent agenda. We're fine either way. We do have information regarding both of the individual applicants that we look at prior to getting to the point that we're recommending them to the board.
We have a motion, we have a second for the approval, but if you want to you're good still?
Fine.
You're good?
My apologies for not having that information to that commissioner beforehand.
I think
Mr.
we-
Chair, just
go ahead.
point of order, does the minute taker have the proper spelling for the name that's added today?
For the minutes, I will say that the name that we've added is Jacqueline, and it's JACQUELYN Bergo, BERGO.
I think we'll have some more discussions, and we'll get this process honed in here, so it'll be a lot cleaner here, hopefully going forward, so. With that, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland, for the approval of the Health and Human Services consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda for the Health and Human Services Board approved unanimously. Item number 2, next would be adopt the resolution for the July donations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just point of order, can we get the agenda up on the screen, or is that not working today? Or maybe we had it and lost it. Okay.
While we're doing that, our July donations include $250 to the Wellness on Wheels program from the Cokato Community Chest, and $350 for the Special Needs Program from the Marysville Township United Fund, for a total of $600.
Do I have a motion to approve the donations or in the amount of $600 for the month of July?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, it's a resolution. Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Next would be adopt a resolution to proclaim August as a Child Support Awareness Month in Wright County. Jamie?
Yes, thank you. As you know, we have a really great child support team here in Wright County. They've been very, I would say we're probably among the top counties as far as collections go. And again, they do a great job. With me, I have Kim Johnson and Karen Popkin. Kim is our financial services manager, and Karen Popkin is our child support supervisor. And with your permission, I'd like to invite them both to come up to the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'll just go over the proclamation. Whereas Minnesota is committed to the well-being of children to ensure they receive financial, emotional, and other supports from their parents, and whereas Minnesota proudly recognizes the parents who contributed child support last year to help more than 220,000 children be more financially secure. And whereas Minnesota thanks the county and state child support professionals who provide high-quality service to more than 314,000 parents and their families across the state to ensure children receive the financial support they deserve. And whereas Minnesota's automated child support computer system, known as PRISM, supports 4,500 calls a month, giving parents accessible and secure information about their child support cases 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas Minnesota strives to build an equitable child support program with its policies, practices, and procedures by expanding and engaging in respectful conversations with partners and families to improve service delivery and address the inequities often experienced by marginalized communities due to systematic racism and its impact on public programs and policies. Now, therefore, Tim Walz, Governor of Minnesota, has hereby proclaimed August 2023 as Child Support Awareness Month.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to proclaim August as Child Support Awareness Month in Wright County?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion?
Thanks you guys for all the hard work you do.
Thank you for all of the support.
And that's a resolution, and I'll vote aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. You may not be aware of it. I started as a child support officer in 1992, so over 30 years ago in Wright County.
And what was the collection rate back then?
Not what it is now, nor did we, I think, honestly, at the time, I think we were collecting like single-digit millions, and I think right now we're at about 14 million annually that we collect that our child support officers collect. So a lot of money that goes out the doors to families that need it.
All right, next item would be to recognize the Health and Human Services Employee of the Month for August.
Thank you, Board. I would like to invite up to the podium with me, Katie Lawrence. Katie, come on up. Otherwise known as Catherine Lawrence.
Oh, Katie's Good morning.
Our August Employee of the Month is Katie Lawrence. Katie is a case aide in the Economic Engagement Coordination Operations Team, also known as ECHO. I know how much you like our acronyms. She joined Wright County in November 2021. Katie is extremely knowledgeable in program policy. She provides exceptional customer service to our clients and works hard at removing barriers for those seeking services. Katie is a tremendous asset to our team. Her nominator states, Katie always has a great attitude and is so well spoken with both teammates and clients. She's always willing to lend a helping hand and encourages her fellow staff. Katie has a level head and exceptional patience. She is always willing to assist clients when they come into the agency and assist fellow teammates. She also has great attention to detail. Clients can witness Katie's professionalism and program knowledge when they meet with her. She's a true example of what it means to be Employee of the Month, but not just of the month because she shows up for her clients and teammates all year. Thank you, Katie. Congratulations on being our August 2023 Employee of the Month. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you for your hard work and your dedication to your job and the citizens of Wright County.
Yeah, she does really
Thank you,
great.
Katie.
She's here also, I see she's with Terry Arbig, another case aide in that area, and they do tremendous work.
Oh, wonderful. Now, the fourth item on the agenda for Health and Human Services would be the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Annual Update. I believe we have the Chief Executive Director, Barb Chafee, here.
And Barb is here with some of her members, so come on up, Barb, and I'll have her present her team to you. Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, guests, and our great partners from Health and Human Services, and Jamie and Kim, et cetera, and all their staff. So we love working with them. We're a great team together. Well, my name is Barbara Chafee, and I'm the CEO for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, serving an 11-county area, including Wright County. My staff and I are honored to present to you today and answer any of your questions that you have during our presentation. Well, year 2023 actually marks our 39th year together as partners in workforce development, supporting members of Wright County, looking for work, and local employers in need of qualified workers. Today, you will hear a client success story from Wright County by Crystal, who's a little nervous, but I think she's going to do an amazing job, so you're going to have to keep smiling when she gets up here. And the impact and success of our great partnership in the services that we provide. Next slide, please. Our agenda is really threefold, and that is my job is to bring you all of the business part of it, and my corporate team will bring you the business section of it, the annual fiscal audit, the annual program performance reports, the commercial insurances, etc. But the most important thing is what's happening right here in your county, which Crystal will present to you today. Next, please. Well, something happened in 2023 that was absolutely rocked my world, because here we have this exciting change, and that was we had I think it's 8 of our 11 county commissioners changed. There was a big turnover here. So I have to tell you that it was amazing, because I call it the historical event. So 8 of the 11 county commissioners are now different, but only 3 of them stayed, and that is the chair, Rick Green, and the vice chair, Commissioner Lisa Phoebe from Sherburne County, and Isanti County Commissioner Mike Waring. And luckily they were the officers, because it's pretty hard to come in that first year, because you're like, what do we do? You know? So here we have Kanabec County, Candy, Ohio, McLeod, Meeker, Mille Lacs, Pine County, Renville, and Wright County all have the number 1 behind them, because this is their first year. So what did we have to do? We had to really start pushing some great, we had to start to train. So I want to pause for just one moment, and I want to recognize Wright County Commissioner Holland. Commissioner Holland is deeply invested in workforce development, and this is only her first year, and she hasn't even completed the first year on our board yet. So she came to all of our board meetings, our Joint Powers Board meetings, got training. Then she liked it so much, she turned around for the 6 months, and she attended all of the Workforce Development Board trainings. I think she really wanted to understand what she was supposed to do. But it was amazing. She showed up, she was there. I think she even was on some of our committees. And tomorrow, she goes to the Minnesota Association of Workforce Boards Summer Conference in Duluth on August 2nd. So we were just talking about that we're all ready. Neither one of us has got anything packed, but we're ready, right? One word that I have to describe Commissioner Holland is commitment. Commitment to excellence. And because of that commitment and all of the times that she has been there, willing to go through all that training, I have 2 quizzes for her today. I warned her. Number 1, is the CMJTS Joint Powers Board a nationally recognized board under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. You are absolutely correct. You are now residing on a nationally recognized, federally recognized board. Number 2, how old is workforce development in the United States? Is it 75 years old, or is it 161 years old?
I think 75, right?
It is 161 years.
Wow.
Didn't you see me going on? In 1862, workforce development started and was born because of the Industrial Revolution. So we'll keep working on that one, okay? All right, next please. So some of the training was really about the legal duties of under WIOA. Being on the Joint Powers Board, where are your legal duties? And then what's the role of the chief elected officials? Because now you're more than just a commissioner, you're called a CEO. Used to be local elected officials, but this year, because of when we changed to WIOA, they'll now call you CEOs. The next one I haven't trained you in on, but the following one, you learned about the composition of the board. One county commissioner is appointed by each of the 11 counties. You were selected, Commissioner Holland, to be on our board from this county. The Joint Powers Board meets in March, June, September, and December. And if you become a chair, a vice chair, or a secretary, you automatically serve on the Workforce Development Board, which meets on a monthly basis. So knowing that you'll probably end up being a chair, a vice chair, or secretary, you know, that's a commitment that you sort of already looked at, right? And then one of the things that we did to make it a little bit more fun, because it's really difficult when you have to sit through all that legal stuff, but then I decided I better just put something together for the history of workforce development. So I have 42 slides, and I'm going to share this one with you today. But my staff would like to, would welcome the opportunity to attend a county commissioner scheduled work day or work group with our partners from Health and Human Services to provide information on our programs and services and answer questions, because when we're in a group like that, it's more relaxed and you've got plenty of time. So next slide, please. This was one of those crazy pictures that I had. This one isn't a color, but the question is, what workforce development program was established in 1933 and still exists today? And that is the Wagner-Pizer, or job service. So I'm not gonna hold you on that one, Commissioner Holland. So next one, please. Next slide, please. This is our map, and I'm the director. There are 16 local workforce development areas in the state of Minnesota. I am one of those 16 directors. I'm the longest serving director in the state of Minnesota. And our area is that kind of greenish grayish around that blue, which is the metro area. And so I'm the director over those 11 counties. On the right-hand side, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I just wanted to bring to your attention Monticello. Monticello is our comprehensive center. It's also our corporate office. It's only a few mile drive. So if you ever want to stop in and see and get a tour, we would be more than welcome to have you. Next, please. This on the right-hand side of your packet is the annual report. I'm not going to spend any time on that because I would rather have my staff talk about what they need to talk about. So also on the right-hand side, I wanted to pull this out though. This is something that this board has asked me to bring. It's been about 18 years now. I make sure that Luke Greiner, who is our deed analyst, LMI analyst, brings this information to you so you can go, the commissioners can go anywhere, grab this, and all of your information is on here for Wright County. It's a great piece of work, and it's easy for you to put it in your purse or in your pocket, and you look like a star when you go to those meetings because you have all the data right there, and that's why they've asked me to bring it. Next, please. I'm going to hand this over to my staff. They're going to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Tricia Bigwit. I am the Finance Director at CMJTS, and I will share with you some of our finances. If you want to go to the next slide, please. The next slide, please. And so I'm going to share with you our fiscal audit. So Clifton Larson Allen is our fiscal auditors. They come in every year. They do our fiscal audit. They come in at the end of the month, usually in October. They spend a week, a month. Usually they do it virtually now this last year. So we'll see what they do now this year, if they come in and do it on site or if they continue to do it virtually. I'm not sure what their plans are this year, but either or, we're prepared. They look at participant files, they look at all of our accounts payable, they look at our payroll, They look at all of our general ledger, they pull every transaction, they make sure it all balances to the trial balances and individually to the grants, and all of our full trial balances, everything. We manage over 87 grants. They tie out all of our grants. Our revenue went up 6.1 million up to 6.8 million this year. We manage all of our grants in-house, so we're able to tie out all of our financial statements, so they're able to come in, provide us an unmodified opinion. So we're proud to say that we had a clean audit this year. So that was a proud statement for us, so that this is the 12th year, I believe, that we've had that we're able to say that. So they had no areas of weaknesses, no areas of internal deficiencies or anything like that. Our admin costs remain at 10% of the grants, so that we're able to keep that low. So if you look at your audit on page 23, you can see that there is no areas of deficiencies or anything like that. If you go to the next slide, that shows that last page of the fiscal audit. So that's where they kind of summarize all of their findings. There is none. We remain a low risk auditee, so we're proud of that. If you go to the next slide, I believe that's a current, oh, nope, we're on to Kristen now. So otherwise, we do provide Commissioner Holland current reports too, that she's able to see where we're at currently, so that she's not always looking at everything in hindsight, so that she's able to make decisions based on where we're at the current part of our fiscal year, and doesn't have to wait till the end of the year to make sure that we're on track. So I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Good morning, I'm Kristen Yeager. I'm the HR IT Director for CMJTS. If you could go to the next slide, what I wanted to just take a moment and point out in your packets is a one-page listing of our commercial insurance, just like different coverages that we have. We want to make sure that we always carry the most appropriate and legally required insurances, and this provides you with that information. I do want to point out that we did recently, about a year and a half ago, add additional coverage to our cyber coverage, because again, they're starting to see that needing to be added on more of the grants and things like that. We carried cyber coverage before it was required because we saw it as a necessity, but just again, has increased in importance then. So that information again is in your packets for your review. On the next slide, I just wanted to point out just our CMJTS organizational chart. We are currently at 60 employees. Our kind of structure includes, obviously, Barb is our CEO, and then we have a business services team. The business services teams work directly with the businesses within your communities, helping them identify employment types of needs, OJT placement, on-the-job training opportunities, things like that. We also have our program team that work directly with the different programs that we offer, the different grants that we offer, and work directly with the clients from across our 11 counties. And then also our corporate team. Tricia and I reside on that corporate team, just on that business side of the organization. Next up, on the next slide, I'm going to invite Dina and Crystal up to talk about those programs and also provide that success story within Wright County. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Dina Warnes with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, and I am one of the program managers at CMJTS. I actually manage our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grants, including the Dislocated Worker Program and the adult programs, as well as our SNAP Employment and Training Program, and then several competitive grants that we receive at CMJTS. And I just wanted to share with you, we're super excited at CMJTS. We were recently awarded that opioid response grant. We applied for the opioid grant from the council here in Wright County, and we have received $97,000 to serve 15 individuals in Wright County. We're looking for individuals who are either recovering opioid use disorder individuals or individuals who live in Wright County and are interested in becoming recovery specialists. And then with those recovery specialist individuals, we'll then do some placement with local employers here in Wright County that address that opioid crisis. So we're super excited about that. Just received that award, and we want to thank Wright County because, yay, we're excited. Crystal here, Crystal Duran, is one of the career navigators who will be facilitating that program, along with another career navigator of ours. His name is Greg Kopinski. So the two of them are actually going to go through the recovery specialist training so that they have a good sense about what it all involves as they try to recruit individuals here in Wright County to address that crisis. Crystal's going to talk to you about our public assistance programs, along with our WIOA adult and dislocated worker and youth programs. We also have public assistance programs, which includes our Minnesota Family Investment Program, as well as the Diversionary Work Program. And we do have a contract with Wright County to deliver those employment and training services. So Crystal, I'm going to give it to you, and you can talk a little bit about your success story.
Perfect, thank you. Who knew 4 people could be so intimidating? Oh, now it's only 3. I'm nervous because this is really important to me. Our community, our society as a whole requires us to get together to help when we are in need. We're all people struggling and just trying to figure out life. Some have it a little bit easier than others. The majority of people that I see do not come to us in a good spot. They're really down and out. Haley is just one of very many success stories that we have. There's 3 of us that are public assistance specialists for Wright County. It's myself, Teresa, and Kim, and we get to serve the community. We get to help them. Haley came to me in 2020 when her son was born. I started working with her in 2021. She's 22 years old, a single mom, recently recovered. And I'll never forget the first conversation we had. I called, I said, we need to have this meeting. And she goes, and she's crying, I don't know how to adult, Crystal. I don't know what to do. And I was like, it's okay. We can do this. That's what this program is for, to be able to help these individuals that have difficulties where they're at, where they're going to go. They don't know which steps to take. So we did. Baby steps with Haley. Haley took about a year and a half for her to complete the program, to get off of it and receive full-time employment. But in that process, she was able to own her own trailer. She started working on her driver's license, which she will be getting here this month. She obtained full-time employment and has been full-time employed for over 6 months. She realized, and this, for me, this is a personal aspect of it, she realized her worth. She didn't think she was good enough. She didn't think she could do anything. She didn't even know if she could be a mom. It took many meetings of bringing. We don't meet in the houses or anything, but I would meet with her over at the park bench. Her kid would be able to play. She would cry for about an hour, say why she couldn't do this. We would figure out our next steps. You know, she was dyslexic, and one of the things that she didn't have was a computer. And so in order to help her to apply and help with that dyslexia, we purchased her a computer. It was huge. She was able to get a job. She also didn't have her driver's license, so we purchased a scooter so that after she would drop her son off, she could quickly scoot to her next job, which she had 2 at one point, we were able to bring it down to 1, 2 part-time jobs to 1 full-time job. It wasn't easy. These cases are not easy, but with the support of financial support, the emotional and guidance that we're able to help, she's doing wonderful, and she's out there, and she's got her family, and isn't that what that's all about, is being able to help our community and being able to bring, even if it's just one person, to being able to self-sustain. So that's Haley's story, but there are a lot more. So I'm really grateful to be here and to be able to let you know how wonderful this program is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoy how when you come forward every year, you bring these individualized story, because it really humanizes what you do. I think a lot of times it's easy for people, they drive past the workforce center, they hear about the workforce center, and they don't really encapsulate what it can do and what it does do and the value that it has in our community. So thank you.
Extend my thanks as well. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing the information. So they work with our population, our MPIP population and our DWP population. So we've been good partners since, well, for many, many years. I don't have the history lesson that Barb had, so decades, I would say. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, moving down the agenda, we have Information Family Resource Center with the Saragrocious and the Wright County Community Action.
So yeah, this is our meeting to have partners with us. So Carrie Tripp is here with us as well from Community Action. She is their director, and Michelle and Sarah are prepared to provide a update on our Family Resource Center plans. Thanks.
So while Michelle plugs in, I'll just wanted to introduce, this is Dara Smita and Carrie Tripp from Community Action. Obviously, hopefully a few board members know Carrie, and Dara, you're the Head Start director. So we've been meeting for quite a while on this project, and we're ready to share. Can I grab your note?
Yep, hang on a sec. There we go. All right. Good morning. There we go. All right. So we're excited to be here and talk a little bit about the Family Resource Centers. We, along with Sarah, just introduced our Wright County Community Action Partners. Carrie and Dara are really excited to be applying for an Explore and Assess grant through the Sauer Family Foundation. And as we go through our presentation, you'll hear a little bit more about basically what that involves and what we're hoping to do in Wright County. So a Family Resource Center is basically a community hub that welcomes all families to provide support, services, and opportunities for connection. These are just some pictures of the types of family resource centers that exist both around the country and potentially in Wright County. So the one at the bottom is a standalone that actually is located in Vermont. The one with the gal standing in front of the door is located in Kentucky. They have over 850 family resource centers. A lot of them are located in schools. So that's one of them. And then I just took a picture of our Annandale Library to show that some of the family resource centers use the library space as kind of a mobile family resource center. Not to say that we will be in the Annandale Library, just as an example of one of the community sites. So what is a family resource center? Basically, like I said, it's an opportunity for the communities themselves to have a place where families can come and they can get support. There will be services, there might be classes coming in, there would be staff on site to be working with the families. The idea is to be strengths-based, multi-generational, and again, to be family-centered. There's no cost, so anyone can participate. Doesn't matter what your income is. And the model of Family Resource Centers really supports what Sarah does in public health, what Community Action does, and what we're trying to do in Child and Family Services. And that really is serve the family in their community and bring resources to them if needed. So we'll talk a little bit more about what these services could look like. Really the idea is to bring services to that community that don't otherwise exist, but also to address the needs of that community. One of the things that Public Health and Community Action do really well is needs assessments. So we'll use that information to help us identify what does Maple Lake need versus Monticello or Cokato, the different sites that we would be looking at. So they're community hubs. They also involve a parent advisory board. So that would be one of the things we'd be looking at as we're exploring and assessing whether or not we can do this in Wright County, is we would want each community to have a parent advisory board. And that advisory board, like our HSAC and our public health and mental health advisory boards, really the idea is for those parents then to speak into what are the needs of our community? What do our families need here? Then also, a big piece of this is the social connections and the peer support. So these are called the family protective factors. There's a lot of information on here. Really the idea around Family Resource Centers is that families come, they likely don't know each other, may not know each other, but they're gonna be building those peer connections that when the Family Resource Center maybe isn't open, that they can be contacting one another for help and support. Social isolation has been talked about a lot and is really very concerning. And this Family Resource Center, I believe, addresses that specifically by bringing families together, not only so that a staff person can help assist them, but they can meet and get to know one another. All right. And then on this slide, there is a hyperlink in the bottom if folks want to this slide and talking more about the protective factors.
Good morning, board. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about Family Resource Centers, but Michelle, and also I know Dara and Carrie know this, but I had a personal experience utilizing a Family Resource Center as someone who am thinking about Wright County and what I know about how many people are moving into the community. When we first moved to Wisconsin from Alaska, I was pregnant and had a 1-year-old. And moved to a very small community and knew no one. And my connection to other parents and other moms who were staying home with their child at the time was through a Family Resource Center. And it was exactly as we had described. There was meals that we could share together. There was a play group. There were classes if people wanted to engage with that. But it was also a way to just connect with other people who were experiencing the same phase of life that I was. And I was feeling very isolated at the time. It was my first time staying home, not having, a career at the time. And that was a big change for me. And I needed my folks to connect with. And it was a very important part. So as we started talking about this process, it has caused me to relive some parts of my life that I hadn't thought about in a long time and how important those resources are, or even the client story that we heard earlier, meeting in the park versus thinking about maybe meeting here where there would be a play group and some other moms, and building that network of support so they're not always, in those cases, some people would be relying on each other. So, for instance, we rented our house to somebody we met at the Family Resource Center, right, instead of them. So you're building these social networks like Michelle was just talking about. So as we talked about Family Resource Centers and the way that we're envisioning them and how they're happening in Minnesota are really cost effective. These are all services that currently exist. The home visiting, I mentioned Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, food banks, career counseling, parenting. These are services that are provided by all of us, but they're just going to a different location. So we're meeting people where they're at, which when you think about transportation and some of the other barriers folks have, it will be cost effective and more efficient and will reach more people. I'm hitting the wrong button, sorry. It is highly adaptable, as Michelle mentioned. We go and assess each community. That's really the crux of this particular phase of the development, and what SOUR is funding is an assessment of the communities across Wright County, what we think what those communities might want, and they tell us. We talk to the parents in those communities as well as the community partners, and then we look for locations. So we're looking at a possibility of 1 to maybe a few locations moving forward. And then we're going to be outcome driven. SOUR's particular interest is in a reduction in child protection needs in the community, but we're also very committed to looking at some of those other outcomes that you might not always measure around that social connectedness or how people are more self-reliant and things like that. So again, it's made up of the community, by the community, and for the community. If we are successful in our grant process, after we've done our needs assessment, we'll be working on the development phase, which would be building that family or parent advisory committee. It would be thinking about how we would staff that. And again, our partner is Community Action in this process. So at the Explore Access phase, they have agreed to be the grant holder. But as we move, if that needs to change or there are other partners that we need to bring into that conversation, I think we're all very open to that conversation. And then we move towards a development, and SOUR also funds that as well. And here's just some data around the cost effectiveness. Again, it's measured around child welfare, but we would also like to add some additional outcome measures to that. So when you build these connections for families in community, you're really seeing that at least an impact on our child welfare system is expected. And that is why there's also some federal or state legislative investment into this area as well. So we're tracking that for possibility for additional funding for sustainability. And we've done some visits. So Sherburne, our neighbor to the north, as was mentioned earlier, is in the explore and assess phase. Scott County is probably the most far along of all of our counties in the state, and they have 3 centers open, I believe. One in a library, one that's in a county facility hub that they have that's like a transportation center. And I don't remember what the third one might be, in a school, I think. I believe it's in a school. So we visited with them and have done some interviews with them about what they would do differently and learning from that process. So we're not on this course alone. There are many counties that are pursuing this opportunity. So, and we're here to answer any questions.
So Sarah, are you applying for a grant for this, for the implementation of this? Is that what the intent was?
Well, we're working with Community Action. They will actually be the applicant.
Okay,
But
so
we're
WCC.
very tightly connected on the application.
In fact, we're meeting right after this to go over our budget and.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, to me, this is like similar to what my wife, when she was at home with my kids, she joined a mom's group. It's kind of the same thing as like a mom's group, but more on a formal level and really trying to reach out to even more people than that. I do think there's a lot of value in that. I think there's areas that, especially from technology training, in getting parents the ability to learn from other parents on what works, what doesn't work, and how to be able to keep up with that technology that their kids are far advancing from them, or just even that what they need to do for their kids to enter school and be able to keep up with the school programming systems themselves. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. We certainly see schools and the early childhood programs as a partner in this process. One of the examples from Scott too is they have translation services available, which is huge for some of our families too that are, we're seeing a larger portion of immigrant and migrant populations in Wright County as well. So being able to provide accurate and timely services too.
And I think that would be also helpful with some of those resources and what we're finding now with the immigrant population is not being able to access some of the activities and stuff, even though there's no cost to them in some cases. But there's like a disconnect of getting the information to them and being able to get those youth involved in the programming, which I think is beneficial to them in being able to be, I guess, I think involvement in activities, whether art, sports, however, is just better for them being able to navigate society holistically. So.
Sure, that's a great point. And what I would like to add is that it truly is a way to bring out all of our community partners to get to our community members to serve better. It does not take the place of or eliminate or reduce activities of our current community partners who are providing services to our families. It really is a way to enhance it so that everyone benefits.
I just have here, so Dara has been working on the community partners we would be reaching out to. So this is our start. It's not our finished product, but as you can see, like our goal isn't to replace anything, it's to build and bridge what already exists.
Mr. Chair, just a question. Is the PowerPoint available for you guys to send to us?
Yes.
Please. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I had one question. Good morning, and thanks for coming in today. So the county board voted to give community action commercial kitchen items from the old government center, and Sarah mentioned today food banks, so that food could be prepared for those in need in Wright County. Could you give the board an update on where that commercial kitchen is set up and how it's working?
When I joined Wright County a year ago, and some of that started prior to my joining as executive director. We've been working with Untides. Untides has been looking at a facility change with their Headlands Cafe, and so we had started with Headlands Cafe in partnership where we could set up a commercial kitchen and teach programs such as canning, doing some other cooking classes, etc. within that. So it was a partnership between a few businesses and community action. As it stands today, that partnership split when that business closed, and now again we're working with Untides on what that location can do, what that facility can become. So we have commercial equipment in there while we are working on how they will make that available for a mission-driven activity. That is one of the locations that is very much a possibility and on our list. So that partnership is growing. I would say the actual use is just at a standstill while the restaurant closed.
Okay,
Thank you for that update. Yeah. Very good. Well, I look forward to hear more about this as this program kind of moves forward, hopefully.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yes, and we'll provide an update. The grant is due in September and we'll hear in November, so we'll be back.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Director's comments.
Yeah, there's kind of a, thank you. There's kind of a theme today, I think, between Central Minnesota supporting families. We heard about the young mother with the 1-year-old, Family Resource Center supporting families. And my news for today is that our basic sliding fee childcare allotment from the state increased from $900,000 this year to $2.3 million next year, which I think will be a huge support to families. Again, economic development. A lot of times people come to the Wright County or are here and they're looking for work, and the wages that they're being offered isn't necessarily enough to cover their child care for it to be sustainable. So basic sliding fee is, again, a nice bridge to go from working until their income is such that they can get off of the basic sliding fee. So seeing an over $1 million increase in that is phenomenal for our families in Wright County. Also, on the kind of the reverse side of things, our direct care and treatment cost increase. We alluded to this a little bit during our budget meeting last week. I did want to give you an update on increases for direct care and treatment. So this is part of our budget as well, because we obviously need to pay these costs when our clients require these services. Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center went to $2,106 a day. That's a 19% increase from last year. The Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health Hospital went to $3,496 a day. and that's a 25% increase. And the CABS, we call it CABS, Community Behavioral Health Hospitals, went to $1,818 a day, an 8% increase. So as you can see, a lot of our increases that you see in our budget are related to these increases we see in the services that we pay for Wright County residents. Just for your listening pleasure, KRWC on August 8th will be airing a program on substance use, and they chose the co-responder program. So the pilot that we're running right now, and I'm not quite sure who was part of the program. Kaylin is on air. So I think it's pre-recorded, and if you'd like to listen to that, I don't have a time of day, but the co-responder program will be highlighted on KRWC on August 8th. And then just another item that we have been seeing and you've been hearing about is, once again, our deadline for our August renewals and our MA unwinding has been extended a month, which just kind of keeps pushing the number of processing that we need to do for the MA unwinding down. Again, families have another month to get their August renewals in now. I think the goal, and this was on the order of the Minnesota Department of Health and Human Services, Jody Harpstead, the goal is to make sure that people don't fall off medical assistance if they are still eligible for it, and people are having a hard time I think, figuring out the unwinding process as much as we are. So there's been an extension in that. But if you know any families that have been dealing with their MA, that we are encouraging them to get their eligibility paperwork back in as soon as possible, so everything doesn't get pushed and pushed and pushed, and then it's kind of a huge issue at the time. So this maybe August will be the last month that we keep seeing the extensions occur. And that's all I have for today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Moving down to items for consideration, we have the committee minutes from the July 26th Committee of the Whole. I believe there's some modifications to those minutes that need to be added. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have something, thank you. So item 1 on the contract discussion, for paragraph 4, third sentence, to clean that up a little bit, it should read, "The sheriff is elected by the people to provide a public safety service. If we trust them for that, we should trust them to determine the level or hours of service based on trends, calls for service, and other relevant data." The next one would be under item 2 for the Committee of the Whole. Omission there. There isn't any comments that the commissioners shared on that section, but I would move to add a third paragraph, which would be, Commissioner Ketchmark pointed out that there was no notice for this item being on the agenda at today's meeting, which was similar to how this was presented to the board by the sheriff when this contract with US Bank Stadium was proposed. Commissioner Ketchmark said that this hourly rate isn't the only concern. The fact that we had several meetings with several cities to pass a new contract to pay deputies and other staff stipends in the interest of hiring and retaining them, and we continued to send a platoon of them to Minneapolis to work at US Bank Stadium for a lesser contract rate, isn't something I will support. So with that was the only correction I had to the minutes.
All right. Is there any other corrections to the minutes? Otherwise, I'm going to stand for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ketchmark,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, so these recommendations, we're going to do them in 3 parts. And the first one is the law enforcement service contract with the cities. I appreciate all the cities' comments, and we did our due diligence to work with them to make concessions that we felt are workable, but yet still allow us to be able to manage and operate a highly efficient and effective law enforcement here in the county, and still intend to and will be a good partner with our cities in this venture. It is in the best interest of all of the citizens in Wright County to maintain this relationship. So I appreciate them being workable with us. I think both sides maybe didn't get exactly what they wanted in this contract, but nonetheless, this contract has been the same for, is it almost 40 plus years, 50 years? And for that fact, it did need some modifications. This is like the first major overhaul of the contract in 50 years, so it was much needed. So for that, I'm going to stand for a motion to approve the law enforcement service contract for the cities of Wright County.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
For members of the board as well. We received an email from Commissioner Diedrich. She noticed one slight little typographical error, which I have to admit still existed after, I think, probably 30 people on staff reviewed this thing 50 times and still missed it. So that's in paragraph 6C. At the end of the second line, the word by should be be, so it would be effective at the end of the initial agreement. So thank you to Commissioner Diedrich for finding that errant Y that should have been an E.
It has been read numerous times. So with that, I think that's a friendly amendment to make that typographical error. So with that, is there any other further discussion on this contract? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the law enforcement contract approved unanimously. The second item here, the Hennepin County U.S. Bank Stadium. I'm going to ask that this item be referred to the workshop next Tuesday for further discussion. Commissioner Shane is unable to be here today, and she would like to participate in this conversation, as well as I believe there's some other concerns from fellow board members about this contract, and we want to be able to give it some due diligence time. So instead of having that conversation today, I would ask that the board would be okay with having the discussion next Tuesday and then referring it to a board meeting after that.
I'm not here next Tuesday.
You're not here next Tuesday? And I guess we can do a different committee of the whole, otherwise, if that's fine.
Mr. Chair, is it about the contract or the process?
It's about the contract itself and some of the information pertaining to it, and they want another discussion on the rate itself. So for that reason, I'm suggesting that we have a discussion to a committee of the whole. So, are you available other days that week?
I'm leaving on Tuesday. I will be out the rest of the week.
Do you want to go Monday morning after our EDA special meeting?
That just might work. I have an 11 o'clock on Monday, but I think
our EDA meeting should be relatively quick. It's 8:30. It should be done by 9. I don't expect it to take more than 30 minutes, so I guess we could go at 9 a.m. on Monday morning.
No, I can't.
You can't?
No, wrong Monday.
Okay, so the 7th doesn't work. Want to meet?
I could do, the only day I can meet literally in the next 2 weeks is Friday. And I will move whatever you need to on Friday.
This Friday?
This Friday.
Oh, I can't. I'll be gone.
That's I said. This Friday, I could do it, but I'd have to do it like at 8 a.m. I'd have to do like bright and early.
I don't know if Nadine will be back then.
We don't know for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can certainly have, Chief Deputy Treichler speak to it. I guess it's kind of important. Again, I don't want to fight the board on it, and it is what it is. But I mean, Matt could certainly sit in that meeting if he's available. If it needs to take place and needs to happen, he's got all of the information. I would make one point of clarification. I did pass this on to Commissioner Ketchmark yesterday. There was some confusion. We got information from U.S. Bank that the Meeker County Sheriff's Office had joined with the JPA. It was they're wrong, not ours. It was actually the McLeod County Sheriff's Office. And so I'm not taking someone else's information. I called the McLeod County Sheriff Langenfeld. He did say that they have signed a JPA with U.S. Bank Stadium for 4 spots. So he confirmed it himself with me. So that was I had said that, but it was an error. But we got the information right from U.S. Bank. But I have now confirmed it was not Meeker.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Any thoughts about the person that's missing isn't here to speak to when they're available either. Is there any way to put on hold until we get a meeting invite and we don't know how it's gonna line up with everybody? Could we just say it will be rescheduled at a future meeting? I don't think it's an emergency unless someone else does.
I mean, I guess the bigger point of it right now is if you get too far out here, it'll actually affect events, I'm guessing, because currently right now we sent that letter in on that rate that they questioned, and we haven't sent a modified rate. So where does that make us stand, Attorney Kreiser?
Well, we're still operating under the JPA that's effective through this entire year.
So this is
We're
our
just-
modifications would be a rate change for next year.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, and for the sheriff, if you're currently operating under a contract that hasn't been amended, you're currently operating at that contract. So we haven't changed the rate yet, so we're still operating at the old rate.
Yep, we are still operating at the old rate. We're just within the period of the clause in there because it was after January of this year that got us through the football season that we could go back and renegotiate the rate. So we were under a period that we couldn't renegotiate that rate. Now we are, but we're still operating under the original JPA, which goes through this entire year.
So okay, so even when anything we modify is until January 1, we wouldn't actualize.
No,
the new
we would
rate.
we could ask them for another JPA with our new rate. And if they approve that, they would send it out. We would sign it again for the rest of this year and next year. So the sooner we would get this done, the sooner we'd be able to change the rate. But we're still operating under the JPA from last year.
So that's, because the further we push this out, then we start, because I mean, once you get into later part of August, the more events we're working at the old rate versus potentially getting.
The new rate is $9 higher. So.
Yeah, that's where and that's the question.
Yeah.
I guess because right now you're looking at probably meeting August 14th would be the next available possibility to have a committee of the whole. Okay, that would come forward to the board meeting. It might not make it, if we don't get it on the 15th, it's not going to make it to a September board meeting for approval. And then it would go down to them to look at it. And if they approved it, you're talking about 4 events potentially that you'd be working at the old rate before it could even adopt the new rate. Whereas if you adopted the rate now, if everybody's comfortable about it, you could probably have it modified and back before any events start for the football season, potentially.
So, Mr. Chair, is August 14th available for you or the chief?
I have nothing on my calendar for that day, so.
Okay, can we do the morning of the 14th?
Yes, I just want to make sure, because if you're going into it, and we have had the discussion, so if we're going to do this to come out with the same dollar amount on August 14th, you were potentially just pushing out to no avail, because you're going to end up working other events in that meantime at a reduced rate. I just want to make sure that I want to caution the board about that. So, and that's the intent, is to not do it at all
Are
together.
there more more answers you need in regards to the amount? I'm not clear. We kind of had a consensus previously in the discussion.
Well,
It's either they're there or they're not, and we're looking at a rate increase of $9 an hour that U.S. Bank is going to pay these deputies.
Well, after this, Chairman, after we had this meeting, and I spoke with the chief deputy of Meeker County, who happens to be my son's friend, and he said that they have no intention of number one, going down there because, for one, he had worked drug task force, and he said he's not comfortable with sending his guys down there just because of the county attorney that they have down in Hannibal County and the state attorney general or whatever. Anyways, and then, so I wasn't very pleased, to say the least, because I felt like I was lied to. And then I want to get more clear understanding of why the cities, we worked really hard with the cities to get to convince them to come to this. And I think hearing the concerns from the other commissioners, that it is, we are giving them a good deal. Like, it's hard to say to our cities, you know, we're gonna charge you this, but we're gonna give these guys a rate, a different rate. And so with all those factors coming in, I want to change mine to back to the same rate as the cities are, and maybe then the US Bank can either pay it or find another department. I think they're gonna probably stay with what we're paying right now, because I don't think they have any departments that will go there. And it will still benefit our deputies because we are paying them more money. So for them, it's a good deal. That's where I'm at.
And I think what they were looking for is if you are going to go at 95, 105, 205, whatever rate, I'm just throwing numbers out there to illustrate a point, is that US Bank Stadium, the agency there is looking for us to articulate the justification for charging whatever rate that we charge. So I'm guessing that your statement is that you were supporting a rate of 105 to keep it linear with other contracts within the county, and to illustrate that this rate is because of limited resources and the market that it's at and the liability associated with law enforcement is your justification for that rate of $105.
I would agree with that logic.
So,
But
I guess you can, I mean, if both of you are in support of that, I mean, we can forego a committee of the whole and you can make a motion and we can see where that lands.
I make a motion that we.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No, I just recalled that we had the discussion that with the rate change was because we're not providing the exact same services at US Bank as we are within the communities to that degree. Is that correct?
Yes, and we are also not guaranteeing these hours that we will be there. And if someone were to call in sick, we are not backfilling them with overtime. We're not charging them for records management systems. We're not charging them for all of the equipment. Our formula that we use for the contract city rate is very defendable, and it covers our expenses. Many of those expenses are not incurred by US Bank Stadium for the security purposes of our staff. Keep in mind, they also do pay us mileage for the squad cars that are used to get down there. They do reimburse us for the mileage. Our current off-duty rate for anything throughout Wright County is $75 an hour. So we are already going $20, which we're going to up that as well, but not probably to the 95 mark. But we are charging $20 an hour over and above our off-duty rate to US Bank Stadium, because that more accurately reflects our expenses. And again, the county would not pay more than that, and we are allowing ourselves $5 per hour worked for tort.
So I mean, I guess I look at their night and day difference, because ultimately the contracts of the cities are for the benefit of county citizens, which is county taxpayer dollars, whether it's paid to the city or the county. So you're serving the citizens of the county. Now, this here at US Bank Stadium is more of a business venture for that of the county and the sheriff's office, and offering, i.e., I'm going to call it like similar to that of a private security. And so entering into that, there's no direct benefit to the county taxpayers unless there is a profitability margin to it. So with them risking their assets in doing such and going into this business venture, I believe Commissioner Holland is articulating that there isn't enough upside to the taxpayers to justify it at $5 an hour. I think she's saying that she could justify it at $10 an hour as a capitalization of those resources. But is that a fair articulation?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Chair, and the other board folks weren't here, but last year when we met the first time, Mr. Chair, you made a good point I didn't think of. Just a reminder that when we're doing the service in Wright County, the Wright County taxpayers are paying taxes also above and beyond any separate other fees and charges. Nobody in Hennepin County is paying anything to help supplement whatever we're doing or spending down there. I just wanted to bring that up because that was your initiative last October, and it was a good point I didn't think of, but that still stands. Then you just said it in a different way.
in that light, I think it's because this is ultimately a business deal, and I believe, I mean, ultimately, when you capitalize it at $95 an hour, that is we are guaranteed $5, and in most cases more than $5 an hour. In the case at 105, you're guaranteed 10. In most cases, more than that from an investment perspective. I can support the $105 an hour because it is a scarce resource, and we are risking what little we have of it, in which we are at this current time in good shape. But that is a very fluid statement, as you know, Sheriff and Chief. I think we can make a letter to them stating that, and we'll see where the chips land, and we can negotiate from there.
So, Mr. Chair, we need
You have a motion and a second on it. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could just throw one other thing out, just for a point for your information, that U.S. Bank has stated that with a rate of 105, they will drastically reduce the number of deputies they're looking for from us. So if you're looking as far as what the county is going to bring in revenue from this contract, it will not be greater from a revenue standpoint from $95.
And I mean, I understand that, but we have a lot of overtime opportunities locally, and I get afraid that what happens is that we're going to have a hard time staffing community events if we have too much overtime in an area that doesn't even service the citizens of the county. Where we want to make sure that we're having our officers available and wanting to work those shifts here locally before we ship too many of them out of the county. In which case, if we are doing that, we want to make sure that it is lucrative to the citizens of the county.
Sheriff, can you speak to that? Are we not filling our local shifts?
I was just going to say, you got to give me a little bit of credit in there that I would make sure that our county things are not going to go unfilled. And to Commissioner Ketchmark's point earlier, this is all driven by off-duty time. There is no on-duty staff that are going down there. So whether it's an Applejack Orchard shift or a U.S. Bank shift, these are all driven by off-duty days. In fact, we've made the rule that you cannot work a U.S. Bank shift because it is a full day with travel time on either side of it, that you can't work in addition to a shift on that same day. This is strictly off-duty time. The argument might be made with and again, yes, to a taxpayer, I'm wondering what the county board would be trying to offset with the revenue stream, because it is a benefit that the employees are feeling, certainly. And there was an awesome benefit that the county board just gave to our staff. And some of them that are taking advantage of these shifts might feel on the other side that we're either going to get cut altogether or we're going to get cut in half or even more, that now that benefit or their ability to go down there and make this, because oftentimes during these events there are no other opportunities, or there might be one or two opportunities throughout the county, but literally 20 people have the opportunity to take advantage of this. So they might think, well, thank you for what you've done, and I do appreciate what you've done, but now making a decision like this could also hurt them the other way. So,
Chairman Vetch, I just have another, you say that they're not taking any time off, but you are sending a captain down during the week. So I'm not sure, it's county time, captain goes down, there's 10 football games in a year. He's down there probably for a day, half a day, that we're probably paying him, because I don't think he's taking vacation time, that, we have to offset that cost. He's outside of our county, that you said that they mandate that we have to send a captain makes a lot of money, down to get the security details prior to a Vikings game or a concert. So it is affecting our county.
well, the benefit with that is they're salaried positions. Their job still gets done. So they're a salaried employee. So I would put anybody up against one of our captains in the sheriff's office, how many hours that they put in and how many hours that they work.
But they're still gone from the county. So we still are offsetting that fee that we're losing as they're gone out of the county. They're not processing things for our county people. A case did get delayed for one of our people. There's a lot of elements in it that is not a benefit to our constituents. And that's why, I appreciate Chairman Vetch and Shane, Commissioner Shane, who they worked really, really hard with the cities just to have them have buy-in. So now I think maybe you're just going to have to work a little harder to get the U.S. Bank to buy in to that same fee.
I have nothing to gain other than the opportunity that our staff has. So I'm not making any arguments to US Bank. If you set the rate at 105, I'm going to tell them the board has decided based on their factors that it's 105, take it or leave it. If they don't take it, if they cut it in half, again, I'm making the arguments ahead of time, and I don't believe that your argument holds water that the Wright County citizens are having a negative impact by sending a captain down for a briefing, because that same captain is also going to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning or work late if their work isn't done. They still have a job to do, and that actually could be part of their job that day. But if they've got other things going on, they're a salaried employee. So we're not paying them anything over and above to go down there, and their work at home is still being done.
Mr. Chair, just to that point, I've talked to several citizens, and the majority are not in favor of our folks working down there. So I'm going to call the question. I think folks on the board sounds like they know where they stand, and I think we've heard plenty of information. So call the question. First, second discussion, we can vote.
All right, the question is called. So the motion was there a motion actually made on the floor? Yes, there was a motion made.
I interrupted, so if you want to repeat your motion, that's
Yeah,
fine.
so I was going to do. So the motion was made by Commissioner Katchmark and seconded by Commissioner Holland to set the U.S. Bank stadium rate at $105 an hour, with an articulation to them that this was a move to set forth to protect a scarce resource of the county and to actualize the risks associated with a very challenged market in law enforcement. And for that reason, they wanted to make sure that there was a return to that investment to the citizens of the county. All right. So with that, the question is called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
So where will that letter be coming from? Will that be coming from administration? We
Yeah,
can
we'll work
certainly
with
forward it to US
We
Bank.
because
but
they want an articulation or a justification.
They
You
wanted
said
a justification.
We can put, we'll work with administration to get a letter of justification for the rate that we set at $105 for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right, the third item on there was to authorize overcomp for a Office Tech 2 within the Sheriff's Department. Is there any discussion, otherwise I'll entertain a motion for that?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Now we're on to administration. There's the scheduled public hearing for the ordinance to prohibit the use of cannabis in public spaces. Attorney Kreiser.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, staff is looking at adopting what would be a countywide ordinance to prohibit the public use of cannabis in public spaces. This was given ordinance amendment number 23-3. Staff is ready to proceed with a public hearing on August 15th at 9:30. We just need the board's approval, and we can get that published this Friday and get it scheduled.
All right. So the public hearing will be on August 15th at
9:30.
At 9:30.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for that meeting,
All right.
time and date.
Do we feel that this is ample amount of time to get communication out? I know that sometimes we do longer, but I
Mr. Chair, members of the board, time is kind of the essence with this.
Yes.
To an extent, so
Today is the day.
hence why we're moving here. I mean, normally we give every township and everyone 30 days, but
that's the only reason I say that, because it's a shift from our typical 30 days of posting for the public hearing. I did know that this morning when I brought up that comment at one committee meeting that there was interest from individuals in wanting to speak on it, so that we could have a potentially higher volume of people wanting to comment on this public hearing.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I
sorry.
think it's gained a lot of attention in the media. It's not something that's a low profile like a ditch public hearing where you got limited amount. So I think people are looking, they're asking. I don't see a reason to delay unless the rest of the board thinks so.
And that's fine. I'm good with that. Then I just wanted to make sure I posted it out there just because it is a little bit of a change from our typical for ordinance amendments. All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to. All right. Motion by Commissioner Dietrich.
I think I'd already made it.
Did you make the motion? Okay, I'm sorry.
Then
Motion.
second.
There was a second. Was there? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies on out of order there. So we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Dietrich to set August 15th at 9:30 a.m. for the public hearing for Ordinance Amendment 23-3, restricting the use of marijuana in public spaces or cannabis in public spaces. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, items for the workshop, August 8th. So one of the first items I want is to take a little moment of doing a tutorial of the TDX of the commissioner projects. I think it'd be good to just do a little overview of the county board. And I don't know if everybody's gotten a chance to kind of go through it, but I think a nice tutorial would be nice. I think you did a nice job on it, administration, and I want you guys to be able to showcase that hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple items. That was one that we had planned both to review the commissioner projects list on TDX as well as circling back on the strategic planning, giving an update on that. Other items that we had, of course, are scheduled meetings as necessary. I anticipate staff will need to schedule a few things as of next week. You may recall from a previous meeting, MCIT would like to give their annual presentation and plan that for the 8th as well. So those are the items that we had planned. So your comment is timely.
I think those will probably be good unless anybody else has any other pressing issues that they want to discuss in the short term otherwise.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One thing I had heard is that the fee schedules got reviewed for a couple of departments and it got worked into the budget. I think since we requested this, can we get some kind of feedback on how that process went and with whom and what changes, if any?
Okay.
Thank you.
They had it all ready for the budget part, so I think it would be very easy for them to bring that forward. So good request. I appreciate that, Commissioner Catchmark. Yeah. All right. So with that, I guess we'll just, in typical fashion, we'll just entertain a motion to approve those items to refer to the workshop.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now, we've already kind of ceremoniously, number 3 is kind of already in number 2 to approve the contracts. Do you want to do it in duplication, in duplicative, or?
Mr. Chair, it seems that you've already kind of taken action on that item.
That's
I don't know that we need to revisit
I don't think we
it.
need to revisit it since the Sheriff's City's contract's already approved. All right. So with that, we're moving on to advisory committee updates. We'll start on this end.
I don't have anything.
You have anything? All right.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Commissioner Holland?
I attended SHAC, which is with Sarah. We went down to St. Paul and I'm getting indoctrinated in all the things that the state is coming down with for HHS. It was an informational meeting. And then tomorrow I go to Duluth for the JTMS conference, so look forward to it.
Myself, I've spent the last couple weeks in budgetary meetings, as some of you as well. I don't have much else to update. More of that will be coming forward here in a week or two, so before I go.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a township quarterly meeting a while ago. It was kind of interrupted by a storm, but it was pretty good turnout for that at Cokato Township. We had the county fair. I was down there with a couple new commissioners, and I spent a lot of other time down there, but it was good that they were there and to see how the fair operated as we worked through the budget process with those folks at the fair, on the fair board. But it was good attendance. There was over 50,000. A lot of the events were highly attended, and it was good, fun events and feedback there. Highway 12 Coalition met in Delno. Back the Blue event to support law enforcement last night in Delano. I attended that. A lot of elected officials and residents there, and pretty good weather and well-organized event, as they've done the last few years in Delano at Central Park. The chief was there. It was good to see our command staff down there and hear from the elected officials. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
I was just going to echo the comments on the fair. I would like to thank staff that attended, had their booths at the fair. It looked really great, represented the county well. I really enjoyed talking to the staff, so it was great to see that. Been doing a lot with budgets. That's been really taking over a lot of my time lately, as well as finance and some of the commissioners on that committee. So just a reminder of Safe Schools next week. We're going to be presenting there, talking about some of the things we talked at leadership team about getting in front of the schools and doing presentations about county government and what we do. So looking forward to that opportunity.
Very good, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else to come before the county board, we will adjourn the county board meeting today at 10:30 a.m.